Hi, welcome to my channel. This is Christy and today we're going to be making some 4th of July decor. We're going to be making unframed sign, this sign right here. This one is unframed using a stencil, so this one's painted. Also, we're going to be making these little mini stars, the other one's over here. These ones are also stencil painted. Then we're also going to be doing a frame sign. This one has layered vinyl to show you that process. And then last but not least, these cute little books. So this is a stacked wood book set. So the steps are the steps. Once you get through the tutorials, you'll have the basic steps down. And then you can use these same techniques for any theme that you desire. All that's different is the design. The steps are the steps. So I hope you enjoy the video and I hope you're ready to get started. I'm ready to get started, so let's begin. Okay, first what we need to do is gather all our supplies. This list includes everything needed for all 4 projects, and I will also link it below so that it's available for you to print out. Using a miter saw, you're going to cut your wood to the sizes listed on the cut list. Now that we have our wood cut, it's time to start painting. This Rust-Oleum paint is my absolute favorite, and it's what I use for all of my DIY projects when white paint's needed. This first piece of wood is the 1x6 that was cut to 5.5 inches long, and we only need to paint the front of it because it's the one that will become our framed wood sign. These next 3 pieces of wood are the 1x4 that was cut to 3.5 inches long. You have 3 of them, and I'm using an apple barrel in rural red and also Craft Smart in navy. You can use any acrylic paint or chalk paint in a red or navy. This is just what I had on hand. When painting our unframed signs, we're going to paint all 4 sides because all 4 sides are seen since it won't be framed. These next 3 are the 1x4 that was cut to 5 inches long. This is going to be for a book set, and you don't need to paint all sides of these. That's why I have the picture up on the screen. For instance, the white one, we only need to paint the sides because the top and the bottom will not be seen. For the red one, we don't need to paint the bottom, and for the blue, we don't need to paint the top. While the paint dries, we're now going to cut our designs. We are now at the part where we are going to weed our design, and think of it like gardening. You're going to take out everything that you don't want. Just like in a garden, you pull out the weeds because you don't want them. So this one right here is for our layered design for the frame sign. And since this one, we are using the vinyl to apply it to the wood, we want to remove everything that's not our design. When I'm doing a layer design, I always layer it directly onto the transfer tape, just because if I make a mistake, it's easier to fix. When layering a design with multiple layers, I always have a picture of the design close by so that I can refer to it when I'm layering. Ours is up on the screen right now so we can see the look we're going for. Remember how I said about being able to fix your design while it's on the transfer tape? Well, I realized my blue is off. We're going to fix that in a minute. And actually on this design, it's not a hard fix. Other designs, it might be a problem. And you see, I also forgot the stars. So I've been doing this for years. I have the design by me, and I still made a mistake. It's gonna happen. It's all right. It's just vinyl. The worst that would happen is we have to do our design over, cut it again. But it's all right. We're gonna get this one fixed. Okay, so now that we have our design fixed, it's time to put it on the wood. I'm gonna lay it down, and we're going to use our scraper and pull the transfer tape back. So now we're gonna go ahead and just put the stars back onto the blue. If this was a different type of design, it might not have worked this easy, but I actually got lucky with this one. I had to do this one in 2 steps just because that blue piece is the one that I redid by hand and it didn't line up, but there we go. Now we're going to move on to the books. This is the designs for the book. So we are once again applying the vinyl to the wood. So we want to leave the design alone. We're taking out all of the pieces that aren't part of the design. Now, once again, you're going to want to refer back to your picture to know where your wording goes. I'm going to just transfer the designs right onto the book. Okay, our books are done. Now let's move on to the bigger unframed sign. This one is actually going to be painted. The design's going to be painted on, so we are weeding different than we just did. So we are taking out the part that we are going to paint. Just like for the vinyl designs, for this stencil here, we're going to do the same exact thing. Apply the transfer tape. My transfer tape's not being nice to me. Now we're going to apply our stencil to the board. Scrape it down. I just use credit cards. I've been doing this for years, and I have a whole stack of old credit cards. My family gives them to me, but I I have a Cricut scraper, but credit cards, I love them. They work so much better for me. Our three minis with the stars are also going to be painted. So we are going to take out the part of the design that we want painted. We're making another stencil. When doing an unframed sign, I always try to keep in mind the smooth side and the raw side of the wood on the sides. I always have the smooth side at the top of the design. The first thing I always do when painting my designs on is I take my weeding tool and I apply pressure right along the parts where I'm about to paint. I've never had an issue with bleeding. I I have never tried the Mod Podge. Some people put Mod Podge down right now or another layer of white to prevent bleeding, but I always just use my weeding tool and I've never had an issue with bleeding. So now we're going to just take our foam brush and we want to go up and down. We don't want to paint like a brush stroke. We just want to go up and down. We're going to do that also for the blue stars. I always pull my vinyl off when it's wet. It's just a preference. I have done it dry also, but I just feel like I get a better result when it's wet. So I just make sure that you hold your board. If you're going to do it this way when it's still wet, you want to make sure your board is still secured. Hold it down while pulling the vinyl up at the same time. There is an exception though to my wet dry preference. If it's the middle of an A or if it was a lowercase e, a P, B, D, I always let that dry and then after it's dry, I'll get that middle part out. regardless of if it's painted on design or if it's vinyl, I always apply Mod Podge over it to protect it and seal it. On the white, sometimes what will happen if you don't seal it, the wood grain slowly starts to pop through, or if there was a knot on the wood, the knot can seep through. So yeah, you always want to make sure to seal your designs. For the books, I always just apply the Mod Podge to the front, to the design area, and then also to the top. Now it's time to get our books assembled. We're going to be using wood glue and the jute rope for the decoration. And what we're going to do is just apply the wood glue in between the layers. So you'll want to put some glue on the blue. And as you can see, I wasn't thinking and I didn't even have to paint that. Okay, we're going to stack them and then take a clamp. Or you could just get them all aligned and put something heavy on them too if you don't have a clamp. Now we're going to be taking our glue gun and applying the jute rope to the other end of the book on the opposite end of the design. And to start, we're going to place a bead of glue on the bottom. We don't need a lot, we just need to make sure that first piece is held down. You're just going to wrap it as many times as you want to get the look that you're going for. You just want to end up back at the bottom. So you're going to cut your rope and apply another bead of glue to secure it. And now our books are done. Now on to the wood frame. So I have tried many things, and what I have found works best is an eyeshadow palette. It's just the right height to get the frame aligned. If you don't put anything under, then the back is flat and then it's showing more of the frame in the front. So you do want to lift it up a little bit to center the wood board in between the frames. Also want to make sure before you start gluing that your frame is all aligned. Now we're going to put a strip of wood glue on one side of the board. And you don't want to put too much. I'm going to do one side and then put it on the opposite side. takes about 10 minutes for the wood glue to dry. So you want to clamp it to get it nice and tight and hold it together for those 10 minutes. If you only have one clamp you're working with, then you want to wait the 10 minutes, take the clamp off, and then you can do the other two pieces of the frame. But if you do have two clamps, then you can go ahead and do it now, like I'm going to do. The last thing to do is just clean up any glue that came out when we put the clamps on, and we're done. That completes our projects for today. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below.